What if I told you that some of the most important discoveries on Mars were not made by NASA, but by China? While much of the world focused on American and European missions, China quietly sent its own spacecraft to the Red Planet, successfully landed a rover, and began uncovering clues that could fundamentally change how we understand Mars. Strange surface patterns, evidence of long-lasting water, underground structures, and signs of a once active climate are now part of the data coming back. Yet many of these findings barely made global headlines. Today, we're uncovering the shocking truth about China's Mars discoveries, what they really found, why scientists are paying close attention, and how this mission could rewrite the story of Mars, and maybe even life beyond Earth. In July 2020, China launched an ambitious mission called Tianwen-1, meaning questions to heaven. Unlike most Mars missions that focus on a single goal, Tianwen-1 carried an orbiter, a lander, and a rover in one journey. When it reached Mars in 2021, China became only the second nation in history to successfully place and operate a rover on the planet's surface. That rover, named Zhurong after the Chinese god of fire, landed in a vast region known as Utopia Planitia. This was not a random choice. Scientists had long suspected this enormous plain could once have been an ancient ocean basin. From the beginning, Zhurong's cameras revealed a quiet, almost lifeless world. But Mars rarely reveals its secrets in dramatic ways. The rover wasn't only taking photographs, it was measuring minerals, studying the soil, and scanning below the surface. And almost immediately, it began detecting signs that this region had not always looked this way. Beneath the dust was a story waiting to be uncovered. As Zhurong traveled across Utopia Planitia, it observed subtle but important surface features. There were ridges, layered sediments, slope deposits, and soil patterns that didn't match what scientists normally see in landscapes, shaped only by wind. Instead, many of these formations closely resembled ancient coastlines, riverbeds, and flood-shaped plains on Earth. Some patterns appeared to mark the slow retreat of water, while others hinted at powerful surges that once rushed across the ground. This suggested that Mars did not experience a single brief wet period, but multiple stages of environmental change. Over long stretches of time, water may have repeatedly appeared, frozen, melted, and vanished again. This is critical because short-lived water is very different from stable long-term water. Long-term water reshapes planets, it carves them, it alters their chemistry, and it creates the conditions needed for complexity. These surface clues quietly pointed to a Mars that was once dynamic, evolving, and far more Earth-like than the frozen desert we see today. Evidence of water that refuses to disappear. One of the most unsettling aspects of China's findings is how recent some of this water activity may have been. Data from Zhurong suggests that water could have existed in this region hundreds of millions of years later than scientists once believed. That may sound ancient, but in planetary history, it is surprisingly recent. This implies Mars may have remained habitable long after much of its atmosphere was lost. The rover detected underground layering consistent with ice-rich soils, frozen deposits, and sediment structures that may have formed when snow or glaciers melted beneath the surface. These processes would have created brief but potentially recurring wet environments. Even temporary liquid water, if repeated over long periods, greatly increases the chance that organic chemistry could take hold. This changes how scientists think about the window of habitability on Mars. Instead of closing early, it may have stayed open far longer. And the longer that window remains open, the more difficult it becomes to dismiss the possibility that something once lived there. What's hiding beneath the red dust, some of Zhurong's most important discoveries, came not from what it could see, but from what it could sense beneath its wheels. Using ground-penetrating radar, the rover scanned deep below the Martian surface, revealing buried layers, sloping structures, and possible ancient channels. These underground features form a kind of geological archive, preserving records of environmental change long after surface evidence has been erased by radiation and dust storms. Among the most intriguing findings were dense objects embedded in the subsurface, possibly created when mineral-rich water flowed through soil and slowly hardened it into stone. On Earth, similar structures often appear in places where microbial life alters chemistry over long periods. Again, this is not proof of life, but it is proof of conditions that life favors. It suggests Mars may still contain frozen reservoirs, mineral-sealed environments, and protected zones where traces of its ancient past could survive. Why scientists are paying close attention? China's Mars discoveries are not shocking because they show aliens or ruins. They are shocking because they quietly strengthen the idea that Mars may once have been a living world, at least in its simplest form. Long-lasting water systems, underground ice, repeated climate shifts, and chemical diversity all point to a planet that had many of the same early ingredients as Earth. This forces scientists to confront an uncomfortable idea: life may not be rare. It may emerge wherever conditions allow. These findings also mark a turning point in planetary exploration. Mars is no longer being studied through a single national lens. China's data adds new depth to what other missions are discovering, creating a more complex and more mysterious picture of the planet's history. Each mission answers one question and creates 10 more. The more we learn, the more Mars looks like a world that lost something, rather than one that never had it. Mars, Earth, and a disturbing parallel, perhaps the most haunting implication of China's Mars mission, is not about Mars at all. It is about Earth. Mars appears to have once had water, a thicker atmosphere, and a more stable climate. Over time, it lost them. Its magnetic field weakened, its atmosphere thinned, its water vanished or froze, and its surface became hostile. China's discoveries strengthen the idea that Mars did not die suddenly. It changed slowly. And slow change is the most dangerous kind, because it is easy to ignore. If Mars followed a path from habitable world to frozen desert, then it becomes a natural laboratory for understanding planetary collapse. Studying what happened there may one day help us understand how fragile habitable worlds truly are. Mars may not only hold clues about ancient life, it may hold warnings about the future. Outro: China's Mars discoveries remind us that the red planet is not finished telling its story. Beneath its dust lies a lost world shaped by water, time, and powerful forces we are only beginning to understand. And as new missions explore deeper and stay longer, the real shock may not be what we find on Mars, but what Mars reveals about Earth.